our meeting tonight by putting ourselves into prayer. Let's all close our eyes, relaxing at the chair or in the couch, wherever you are right now. Relaxing, elevating our thoughts, thinking about Jesus, connecting with his image, with our mentors, asking our mentors, asking God, our Father, to help us to harmonize with each other, helping to open our hearts to the beautiful messages that we are about to receive. We will be talking about the work of God, the beauty of the work of God. So may we all be prepared to absorb the message, being harmonized with each other, harmonized with the others that might be inside of our houses, asking the good spirits for their help, and also asking the good spirits for their help so we can prepare for the passes that we will be receiving at the end of this meeting. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. So be it. Yes? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hear you. If you could maybe go really close to your mic, Andrea.
Okay. How about now?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, so welcome everyone. So my name is Andy. I am here tonight to talk about the chapter 4 of the Spiritist book. And this chapter is about the vital principle. And this is a beautiful lesson. It's a very, very interesting chapter of the Spiritist book. So as you all know, most of you come in here every Tuesday. We have been studying different chapters of the Spiritist book. So in the Spiritist book is kind of divided in different parts. This is the final chapter of the part 1. So we have covered already the concept of God. We have covered the general elements of the universe. Veronica, our friend from Canada, also came and talked about the creation. And so today we are going to be talking about the vital principle. So all those 4 topics are what Kardec called the first causes. And so just to tie a little bit back to, one of the previous lessons that we had, from the Spiritist book, we talked about the universal fluid, right? We talked about this fluid that is an element, like a primitive matter, a primitive energy that, some people also say that this is the energy from God. It's like, it's the breath of God, as some say. And this universal fluid is what gives origin to, a variety of things, not only in our planet, but in other planets as well. So, everything that you could think of, going from the spirits, matter in nature, things that we can and that we can't see, are formed by this universal fluid. So today we are going to be talking about the vital principle, which is an origination, from the universal fluid. That's why I'm bringing it up again, this idea of what is the universal fluid. So we can think of like, this is the fluid of God. As I said, it's like the breath of God that gives origins to things, not only in our planet, but in the whole universe. So to start and, talking tonight about the vital principle, it's important, in the beginning of this chapter, Kardec, he gives some definition on some topics. So he defines the beings from our planet in organic beings and inorganic beings, and just like Kardec did, our science also has this type of difference, or like different types of beings in our current science nowadays. So the organic beings, some examples, us, human beings, man, animals, and plants. So basically, the organic beings, they have an inner source or something that gives them the life. They are born, they grow, they reproduce, and they die. And they are provided with special organs in order to, not accomplish might be not the correct word, but we all have organs that are responsible for functions in our body and also in our life in general. Now, the inorganic beings, they are minerals, maybe the water, the air, they do not, we cannot think about inorganic beings as beings that will be born, grow, reproduce, and die in the way that we could, think about the organic ones. And so, why are we covering this? Because basically, what Kardec is trying to bring to us is that the difference between the organic and the inorganic beings that we can find in our nature is the vital fluid, is this or vital principle, as you can also find. So basically, this fluid, this principle is what gives the organic beings that we are talking in here this life. I found this comparison when I was studying to be here tonight, that the difference between a living tree and a piece of wood is precisely the presence of this vital fluid. So we are going to be talking more about this tonight. As I said, the vital fluid is a modification of the cosmic fluid, or the fluid that we were just talking about, the fluid from God. We can if we want to simplify what is the vital principle or the vital fluid, we can just say that it's the vitality that can make the organic beings, alive, is what gives us life. So as the slide says, is a substance that gives life to all beings that absorb it. And so Kardec, we all know that these Spiritist books, it's a lot of questions, right? This is how Kardec wrote the book. He was asking questions to these spirits. So other than just asking what is the vital principle, he asked if the vital principle is the same for all the organic beings, for all the beings that, as I said, that they can be born, have a life, and die, if the amount or the principle is the same for all of us. The Spiritist said that yes, it is the same principle, but depending on each species, this fluid is modified. And so another important piece in here is that the amount, of the fluid that is available in different species is different. And not only in different species, if we are talking about human beings, it is known that also different people, we are born with different amounts, maybe, let's put it like that. Again, it's an interesting choice of wording, but we are born with different amounts of this vital principle. Some of us, and this depends on, again, things that we cannot control and things that sometimes it's hard for us to understand. It depends on what are the plans for this incarnation. It depends on our, things from past existences. But good news that I can give you all is that there are ways in which we can replenish vital principle or this vital fluid inside of ourselves. So we are going to be talking tonight also, how things that we do that we end up like losing or spending, if you will, too much of this vital principle, and also ways in which we can replenish this inside of ourselves. And so another interesting question that Kardec asked the spirits, since we are talking that this fluid is something that makes, that gives vitality to us, right? To the organic beings. Some people could maybe think that this is intelligence, that, intelligence has any part into play on this. And so Kardec asked, is intelligence an attribute of the vital principle? And the spirits answered that no. And they said, plants are alive, but they do not think. Intelligence and matter are independent of each other. A body might be alive and yet lack intelligence, but intelligence can only be expressed through material organs. So, I think what the message that I'm trying to convey in here is like the vital principle, it's not the same as the spirit. And we are going to talk about this. And it's the vital principle. It's not our spirit. It's not our intelligence. It's another particle. It is this fluid that helps us to stay alive, that helps our organs, that gives us vitality, that helps our body to function, right? Not only our body, all the organic beings, the plants, all the beings that are alive in nature. And so if we are talking about being alive, and we are talking about the cycle of life, we also have to talk a little bit about that. And Kardec did ask these spirits. In the question 68, he asked, what causes death in organic beings? The answer from the spirits was almost like a simplified answer, and we are going to unpack that. So they answered that the organs, our organs, the organs from those beings, the organs wear out. And this ideally would be the way that we would all pass away, right? Ideally, we would live a good life, we would accomplish everything that we have proposed, that we have set ourselves to accomplish. We would have a good life, a life in which we would take care of our body, of our health. And we would only discarnate whenever we are old and our organs are wearing out. But we all know, and this is what we call, the natural death, but we all know that, there are accidents or maybe sometimes diseases that come into play. And so let's think about those two types of death. Okay, so in this natural death, that is when our organs wear out, what is this wearing out of our organs? The wearing out is basically our vital fluid is wearing out. We are gonna see later that we are born with certain amounts of the vital fluid, and usually in our childhood and in our youth years, we can very easily absorb vital fluids from the nature, from each other. But the more we grow old, the more difficult it is for our body and for our perispirit, if you will, as well, to absorb those fluids. So whenever we wear out of the fluids, our organs start also to wear out of that vitality, and we discarnate. Okay, so this is the natural death. So now, how about, when we go through an accident, let's say a car accident, what happens with the vital fluid then? So they say that whenever we suffer an injury to our physical body, this injury causes like an outflow of the vital fluids to getting out of our body. So basically, like, this injury makes us lose this fluid in large amounts, and we ended up discarnating as well. So I thought that this was a very interesting topic. It was interesting to bring this up to you, but it was also particularly to me to study and learn this. And then Kardec also asked, in question 70, he asked, what happens to the matter and to the vital principle of organic beings after our death? And the Spiritist said, the inert matter, so our physical body, decomposes and is used to form other beings, right? So we are returning to nature. And the vital principle returns also, to the fluid, or it goes back, because as I was saying, if we can absorb vital principle from the nature, it also goes back to the nature. And here we are gonna see this a little bit more in depth. So we are talking about the fluids and the spirits, and we are gonna talk about the difference between when we are incarnated and discarnated. So basically, we have our physical body, we have our spirit, our perispirit, and the vital fluid. And this is when, I just mentioned that our vital fluid is not our spirit. Here we can see that they are separate, they are different things. So what happens when we discarnated? As we just saw from the answer from the spirits, our physical body remains in the matter. We are originated in matter, we are flesh and bone, so we will decompose, and we are gonna go back to organic matter. We are gonna be used to form other types of matter in the nature. Our spirit and perispirit are the part from us that continue our life. We will continue our life. We will go to the extra physical dimension. We are here, we all are always spiritists, so we believe in this continuation of life. And so how about the vital fluid? The vital fluid returns to the origin, which is the universal cosmic fluid. And actually, if you guys have read now I can talk about the books from André Luiz, but I am pretty sure that there are other books from Spiritist books that also cover this topic about discarnation, right? So, for instance, André Luiz has this example of when they were coming to help in the discarnation process of a worker, of a spiritist worker. This person had a disease, so he ended up discarnating a little bit earlier, than what he had in his incarnation plan, in his reincarnatory plan. Let's put it that way. And so he had a little bit of vital fluid, kind of like, I am trying to choose the right words. Let's say some leftover vital fluid in him, but it was the right moment, it was the moment for him to discarnate. So the good spirits that were here helping, for him to disconnect and, make the transition. In the moment that they are there, they make this dispersion. They help, to disperse the fluids that are remaining in his physical body. They help to disperse those fluids back to the universal cosmic fluid. And this only happens after, the ties between the spirit and perispirit and the physical body, after those ties are broken. It's almost like this dispersion of the vital fluids is almost like the last step. Again, this is from a book. And as we all know from the Spiritist literature, not everything that we see it's going to be a rule that is going to apply for everyone. So what I am trying to say is that was a case that was, they were discussing in this book. But now, does this happen for every single person that passes away? Probably not. So, but I thought it was an interesting thing to bring it up, also to provide an example. I usually like studying by examples because it makes it easier for me to absorb the concepts. So another example, I found this in a Spiritist website, and I thought it was so interesting to bring this to you all. So we could think about the vital fluid as our fuel, so let's take this example in here. If we are going on a road trip, and let's say that we need 12 gallons of gas for this trip. We have then, and we, put the 12 gallons of gas in our car is good to go. So there are three possible scenarios. Scenario number one is if we drive the car correctly, if we respect the traffic laws and the limits of the car, the trip will follow the normal course. We will have no problems, we will get to our final destination. Now, if scenario number two is taking in consideration that we will end up forcing the car, and so because of that, the car will increase its wear. And even though we have enough fuel in the tank to complete the journey, even though we put the 12 gallons of gas in the tank, the car just wore itself out, and so we will not be able to continue our journey. The third scenario is if we disrespect the laws. So if we disrespect the laws, there could be an accident, and even though the car has plenty of fuel in the tank, and even though also let's say the health, not the health, but like the car is in good condition, the machine, the motor, everything is in good condition. We have plenty of fuel, but we will not be able to continue this journey because we disrespected a law. Maybe, we were over the speed limit and we ended up crashing, who knows? So this is a good parallel that we can draw with our lives. We are all born with plans, we have plans for this incarnation. So we have proposed to, I don't like to use the word mission, but we have proposed to accomplish certain things in this life. And therefore, we have a number of years that we need to live, and to live those certain years, we are provided with a certain share of the fluid, of the vital fluid. And so if we have a life that it's okay, respecting the laws, not only laws of God, but also like physical laws. We are gonna talk about ways in which we ended up spending too much of this vital fluid. So if we take care of our physical body, which is in the example is the car, and we respect the law, we will probably have a life that we will ended up having a natural cause of death. Now, if we disrespect the laws, of course, and not only God's laws, but as the example in here, like a traffic law, who knows, we might suffer an accident, and our life might be cut short, this existence. So this is a good, almost like a wake-up call. It's a good thing for us to stop and think. It's a good analogy for us to have. And so, just going back to what I had said before, we all are born with a certain share, a certain amount of the fluid, the fluid, and the fluid is what our body, uses to maintain, you know, its function. Of course, you know, for us to function, for us, you know, being alive and breathing, we are basically burning the fluid. That's why we are comparing it to a fuel, to gas in a car. And so we must learn ways in which we can absorb more of those fluids. So we are going to talk about this. Oh, actually, we have another slide first. So this story is from the book Missionaries of the Light. And I know that there is a good amount of you that is studying this book in the Saturdays, right? So this is a story about those two characters, Manasses and Silvério. So Silvério was returning. They were both in the spiritual sphere. They were both in the spiritual plane. And Silvério was returning to Earth. He was preparing to reincarnate. And so, you know, they were talking general things about the incarnation. And at some point, he wanted to know, he asked how many years, you know, what was the average of time that he would be incarnated. So his friend said, at least 70 years. And, you know, the others that were with them expressed appreciation. And this friend continued, you know, he said, at least 70 years. And he said, remember the blessings you have received, Silvério. And after taking possession of it on the physical plane, do not come back here before you are 70. Take advantage of the opportunity. All your friends are expecting you to come back to our spiritual colony in the glorious condition of a completer. And then they keep talking about what being a completer means. Being a completer means, as you can imagine from the word, means that if you have proposed yourself to accomplish certain tasks in this life, being a completer, it means that you have accomplished everything, that you have taken good care of your physical body, that you have taken good care of your mental, because we are going to see that as well. And so, again, this is a good thing for us to stop and to think, you know. This is almost like the little lessons that I want you guys to take from tonight. It's not only about, you know, for us to be here almost discussing science and what is the vital fluid and all of that. Is about, I love our Tuesday night meetings because, you know, it's about the message that we bring back home. It's about the message that, you know, it will get us thinking throughout the week. And so, let me see. So now we are going to talk about the actions that we have that can deplete our vital fluid. And those are very small things. That's why I thought it was so fascinating studying for tonight, because we see, you know, warnings for us to pay attention on those simple things all the time. And even though those are simple things, it's very difficult for us to really pay attention to those. So how can we deplete the vital fluid? If we have poor sleep, is one of the ways. A poor diet is another way. And maybe the translation is not correct, but like extreme emotional factors, it would be like for you, you know, to go from 1 to 0, you know, from 0 to 80, you know, when you have those emotional outbursts, when, you know, you have almost that tantrums, or, you know, you get really mad at someone, you are wasting your energy on that. In the same way that we are talking about wasting emotional energy, is the same thing with physical energy as well. And I'm not saying that we should not exercise. We will see that actually, you know, good exercise is a way for us to replenish the vital fluid. But you know how some people, they put themselves into this, extreme, exercising, and you feel that some athletes, for instance, they feel that they are literally wearing out their physical bodies. So this is another way. And so down below, in the same way that like life is about balance, right? So in the same way that you having an extreme physical effort, it's not good for you. Being sedentary, so like not doing any type of activity, it's also a way that you are just depleting or wasting your vital fluid. Stress and fatigue, as we can imagine, we are talking about emotions being a factor that will affect our vital fluid. So we stress and fatigue, and we can also add to that depression, anxiety, and of course obsession, if we are talking about spiritual implications as well. But then just like harmful habits that we have in our lives. It could be using drugs, or, smoking, alcohol, or even, any type of unbalanced things that we do. Just use this unbalanced in ways of like things in which we focus too much of our energy, and we don't need to. And by then you can just think about probably a variety of things. Nowadays we talk so much about the addiction to social media, and sometimes I am guilty of it, of spending too much time in my phone, or I could be doing something else. I could be reading, instead of that I am on my phone. Or just yesterday I was watching this video that someone was talking about how art and music in general, recently people are just listening to music and TV also, things that are not edifying, things that music there is using very like not good language. I don't know how to put it in a better way, like bad words, or just portraying women or people not in a nice way. So we can think about all of that. And another very important thing in this slide that could maybe summarize it is a lack of observation of our own limits. So no one knows your limit, in the same way that it's probably difficult for you all to know what are my limits. So this is a very important thing. We have to stop and look inside of ourselves. But sometimes when we are just, spending too much time either watching things that are not very good on TV or in social media, and don't get me wrong, social media can also, have nice pages to follow. It is nice to know what your friends are doing, or for those who have family abroad like I do, it's a nice way to stay in touch with them. But sometimes if we are focusing our attention too much in external things, then our day only has 24 hours. Then we don't have the time to look inside of ourselves and to observe our patterns, to observe if we are sleeping well, how our diet is going, if certain things that we are eating are making us feel sick. Sometimes if you are just rushing, you might not pay attention to the way that you are feeling after you eat certain things, or the way that you are feeling after you exercise. Sometimes this fatigue is something so present in your life that you have grown accustomed. You just accepted that as part of your life and your lifestyle. So it is very, very important for us to take the time to look inside of ourselves and to observe those limits. And so now, I kind of already answered part of this slide, but also like ways in which we can replenish this fluid. As we just talked about limits, so like knowing our limits and respecting them, it's the number one. Because we were just talking about the balance between not having extreme type of exercise, but also not exercising at all is also bad for you. So you have to find a balance between those things. Have a balanced diet, and this was another thing that I was watching like an unrelated video about lifestyle, not about spiritism. But this person was talking something that really stuck with me, that it's not easy, maintaining a balanced diet, eating healthy things. It's not easy because, we all like the taste of bad food, of like, I shouldn't say bad, but like fried things, things, food with a lot of sugar. We all, they taste good. They are good for us. But, it takes perseverance. It takes also knowing what is good for yourself. And I would say that this is the message, in here. Although it is hard to make a choice to say no for like French fries, for instance, something that I like a lot. I want to take care of my body. I want to take care. My body is my temple. If I know myself, I know how I feel when I eat certain things. And because I honor the body that God has given me, and also because I want to be a completer, because I want to, live all the years that I proposed myself to live in this existence, then, making the choices to have a more balanced diet, making the choices to get enough sleep, or trying to maintain a more balanced mental attitude, those things should be my priority. Because again, I am honoring myself. I am taking care of myself. And this is not being selfish. This is also honoring God, and honoring the gift that we have received from Him. Another great way of replenishing the vital fluid is being in contact with nature. I'm not sure about you guys, I'm very thankful I live in North Carolina. We have plenty of like trees, beautiful nature in here. Just this morning I was walking and like the birds were chirping, and that sound was something that, was making me feel so good. So taking advantage of that, smaller things. Nowadays it's so trendy to have, plants inside, and I am a plant lady. I have plants all over my house. But also, if you maybe live in an apartment and you don't have like access to trees, or your office maybe, have a plant in your office. Just the studies say that just by taking a couple minutes to look to a plant, to like a green leaf, they have that this research talks about all the good emotions that we get from it. And now here we are talking about the vital fluid, so it's a nice thing for us to understand that everything it's interconnected, right? So, if you do have the opportunity to be in the nature, great. If you don't, maybe just having a little plant inside of your home, and again, taking the time to enjoy those little things, to recharge yourself is important. Other ways would be to listen and watch quality music and entertainment. Of course, avoiding drugs, getting enough sleep, maintaining a balanced mental and emotional attitude. And this is probably the most difficult one. I think for me, it's easiest to have a more balanced diet, to go exercise, to go look to the plants. maintaining a balanced emotional attitude is very difficult. Now I realize that I skipped one that is very, very important. How by receiving and giving affection, we can also replenish the vital fluid. So let's now think how good it feels when you are hugging someone that you love so much. It could be your husband, it could be your mother, it could be your child. But those big bear hugs, how sometimes you are tired, sometimes you are not feeling good, and just by that hug, just by that sign of affection, you feel so much better. And this is because not only we can get the vital fluid from nature, but we can also get the fluid from each other. We can donate to each other, and we do this all the time. So that is another way for us to replenish the fluid. And finally, the last item in this slide is something that we are going to do it tonight, through passes. Not only passes, Reiki is also another activity, and I am sure there are more activities like passes and Reiki that can help us to replenish our vital fluid. Now, I dedicated a slide for this one because they say that breathing is the most important source of the absorption of the vital fluid for our body. And so there are so many breathing techniques out there. Literally, if you Google breathing techniques, you will find a variety of them. I'm gonna put in the chat before the end of this lesson a little video in which this is the one, this Nadi Sadhana is the one that I like to practice the most because I feel it's very easy and I can do it in the office or whenever I feel that I am getting too tense. I try to do this. So remember that breathing is very important. Especially when we are nervous, whenever we are anxious, our body tend to shorten the breath, and what we need is literally the opposite. It's like by breathing we can calm our nervous system. By breathing, I am big into listening meditations before I go to bed, and basically all sleep meditations, they start with some breathing activity as well. So just be mindful of that. And then finally, we are almost in the end of tonight's lesson. It's also very important for us to talk about the interaction between our thoughts and fluids. And here I'm not only talking about the vital fluid, I'm talking about the other fluids from the universe in general. So our thoughts, they basically use the fluids as a vehicle. And so I'm gonna read this. So first, as a quote from Allan Kardec from the Genesis book. He says, bad thoughts corrupt the spiritual fluids as deleterious miasmas corrupt the breathable air. Oh, someone is saying something in the chat. Oh, thank you, Kara. Thank you so much. Kara put in the chat a little video of another breathing technique. So basically, good thoughts, they impose luminosity and elevated vibrations in the fluids that are around us, which cause comfort and sense of well-being to the people under the influence of those thoughts. Bad thoughts, they cause vibratory changes contrary to those mentioned above. So the fluids become dark and their action causes physical and psychic discomfort. And it's actually very interesting. I did not bring this to you all tonight, but some authors, they even describe like depending on the type of the thoughts that we have. And when I say type of thoughts, it's like type of the thoughts that we have most in our life. This can almost like impact a little bit the color of our aura. So as they said in here, the darker it's, the fluids are more attached to, bad thoughts. Uh, they say the one that I memorized the most, probably because I'm guilty of it. Whenever our thoughts are too related to matter, like any materialistic things, the color related to it is a brown color. And so a couple months ago, we had this beautiful talk with Clara, and she talked so much about our thoughts. And the talk was from a book called Thoughts in Life. And so this is yet another, reminder for us about the power of our thoughts. How, that's why Jesus recommended so much watch and pray. I think this is the right translation in Portuguese is orai e vigiai. It's because it's not easy for us. It's not like you are gonna wake up one day and you are only gonna have good thoughts in your mind. But it's very important for us, if we get into the discipline of every time you start, for instance, judging, or every time that you start having a bad thought, if you get into this habit of shutting it off and trying to replace with something more elevated, I'm not even going to say positive, because not every time in our life we know that, sometimes we are facing things that are making it difficult for us to exercise positivity. But it's important for us to be very aware, since we are talking about fluids, since we are talking about the impact of so many subtle things in our lives. It's also important for us to watch our thoughts. And so finally, I would like to end tonight's lesson with this message from Joana de Angelis. This message was, of course, psychographed by Divaldo Franco, and she says, insist on preserving your health. Many illnesses have their origin in maladjusted temperament, in emotions in disorder, in negative spiritual influences. Anxiety, fear, pessimism, anger, jealousy, hatred are responsible for evils that are not yet cataloged, damaging physical, emotional, and mental health. Strive to remain in peace, cultivating good thoughts, which will provide you with invaluable benefits. And Joana de Angelis is so right, because modern medicine, the more they are evolving, the more they are talking about, how the feelings, how sometimes the doctors, they just call it stress. They do not unpack what they stress really means, but how those things can have an important factor in how the diseases develop in our body. One of the things that it's already, very studied by doctors is how sometimes, a very extreme type of stress, and you could say like find a big financial loss in the family, or a loss of someone, a loved one, or sometimes, divorce, separation, how those things can be the trigger for cancer in certain people, especially the ones, the studies that I was reading, they were more related to women and breast cancer, but I am sure, there are studies that talk about men as well. So I believe that this is the future, medicine more and more will be more holistic. We'll talk about wellness. It will talk about, the importance for us to have balance in our life. So if there are, a couple things that I want you to get out from this meeting, number one is to think about yourself, your health. Think about, how you are going to incorporate in your life at least some of the ways that we talked, in which we can replenish the vital fluid in ourselves, and also that important lesson of being a cult leader, of preserving our health, preserving our physical body, these instruments that God has given us, with this purpose of, really taking advantage of this opportunity that has been given to us. And this opportunity that I refer is this incarnation, right? So for us to be able to accomplish everything that we have proposed ourselves to do, taking care of our health and our physical body, our instrument is very important. And as we see in this slide, the physical is also connected to the spiritual and the emotional. So it's a holistic approach. Now I'm going to stop. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you some moments so you can prepare for the passes. As we talked, the passes are a way for us to replenish this vital fluid. Please get some water. It's very important as well. Thank you, guys.
Let's now take a moment for meditation. Let's now take a moment for meditation, to calm down and go inside ourselves. Before we start, make sure you have a bottle or a jar of water close to you, for you and your family. This water will be magnetized and blessed during the passes. Let's now silence our thoughts, preparing to receive the blessings of the passes. We begin the passes by breathing slowly and deeply, relaxing our body and our minds. Letting go of any worries, any thoughts, just for this moment. We raise our thoughts to Jesus by tuning in with the good spiritual friends, and we put ourselves in prayer. We ask God our Father for the presence of our guardian angels and all the friendly spirits by our side in this moment, asking them to assist all the homes that are being represented here. We ask God to allow us to receive His healing light, curing all physical ailments, stopping any action of infirmities through the vibrations of these beautiful golden rays of light throughout our being. We now proceed to the dispersion pass. Let's imagine a beautiful waterfall of crystal clear waters falling over us, full of blessings, involving our whole body, removing all negative energy, thoughts, and feelings, penetrating and involving our entire body, organs, cells, and our centers of force, restoring our energies, detaching ourselves from all hurt, all anger, any nervous tensions, any guilt, sadness, and frustration, afflictions, and anxieties. We allow the action of this cleansing by putting all of our difficulties and sensations in the hands of the emissaries of Christ. We feel ourselves spiritually clean. We feel these waters involving, in this moment, the entire environment of our home, opening the doors to cleanliness and releasing all feelings of selfishness and possession. May this water clean the spiritual environment of our home from all forms of ill thoughts and feelings that may bring disharmony to ourselves and our family members. Dear God, embrace our hearts, giving everyone good intuitions and freeing us all from evil. Thank you, dear God. We now proceed to the replenishing passes. Now, after cleaning, after feeling light and happy to be free, we start the strengthening phase, restoring all of our energies. We let the light of love fall upon us by rays of restoration of our whole entire being, helping us re-energize both morally and spiritually. We visualize the team of spiritual doctors around our physical and spiritual body in this moment. We now receive this beautiful light that provide beneficial and strengthening energies. You are receiving these energies through your breath, through the pores of your body, and through your mental thoughts. These energies are strengthening your immune system, restoring to balance all of your organic activities, bringing encouragement and well-being to your entire being. We now thank Jesus and the whole team of good spirits and ask them for this light of healing and blessings to be sent to all humanity, involving all the sick and distressed due to the trials of earth at this time. Let us unite our thoughts of love to be an instrument of support so that the good spirits can act on everyone who needs it at this moment. Passes in the name of Jesus. At this moment, we imagine the hospitals and everyone there receiving this healing support, the homes of the sick and those who remain silent, still feeding the actions of this disease. We know that God acts in all of us. May His will be done. You may now serve this water for you and your family, today and during this week, keeping these rays of vibrations of light and love to continue to act on your mental and physical body.
So we now proceed to the final prayer. Dear God, we thank you for all the beauty of the nature, of the creation that you surround us with. We thank you for the physical body that you have given us. We ask you, and we ask the good spirits and our mentors to help to enlighten us so we can be more conscious about taking care of this physical body that we have been given, taking care about this vital fluid that is so important for us, taking care also of our thoughts, watching our thoughts, our feelings, being able to take the time to disconnect from all the materialistic things on this planet in which we live, so we can look inside of ourselves, so we can understand ourselves, our patterns, our emotions. We can understand our feelings. We can look to our body to understand what is good and what is not so good for our physical body. We ask our mentors to stay on our side to help us to develop new habits, to make of these new habits good examples to those who live with us, to our family members, to our kids, our loved ones, our friends, so we can all live in a better place, so we can all all live longer, be healthier, and enjoy to the full extent to all the beauties and the blessings that we have been given. We ask you, God, also to bless those that are in the hospitals, those that need this replenishing of this vital fluid the most. May the good spirits be with them, giving them resignation, giving them good intuition, giving them strength to overcome this disease. We thank you, God, for the opportunity of being here tonight. We ask you to bless our family members, our houses, and we ask the good spirits to stay with us for the rest of the week. So be it.
Thank you, Angiata. It was a beautiful lecture.
Thank you,
all.
Angiata.